Welcome back to Pistons Jack Weekly. My name is Jack and I've got you covered with all the latest news, rumors, and results for your Detroit Pistons. If you haven't already, I'd be super grateful if you could like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. That just helps keep this channel growing. We've got plenty of exciting stuff coming up. So let's get into today's episode. First of all, before I get to the usual topics, I just wanted to quickly address the recent news of the Pistons very graciously offering me a trip to Detroit, which it's now been a few days since I've known about the incredible offer, and I've had so many people reach out to me wondering the dates and all that kind of thing of when I'm going to be there. But first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to the Pistons organization, but in particular, their marketing, branding, and social team. They have been so incredible. It was a part of World Basketball Day, in celebration of World Basketball Day. They offered me the trip. They sent out a heap of these jerseys to a heap of fans around the world. I was lucky enough to be kind of the Australian representative. Just an incredible couple of days from that department in the Pistons organization to really push Detroit and the Pistons to the forefront of World Basketball Day and making it their own. Like everywhere I looked, it was World Basketball Day, Detroit Pistons. It was Pistons fans in their custom jerseys, people talking about it. Obviously, I was extremely lucky to get this offering to come to Detroit, which I still can't believe is real, but just a huge shout out to Pistons organization and the social branding and marketing team. Just incredible job. And for the trip itself, like yeah, words can't describe. Like there was a video put up it's on Pistons Jack channels and on the Pistons social channels as well. Like I'm still in shock, and it's like 4 days later. So it's just incredible. I can't wait to get to Detroit. I'm gonna do another video once the dates and all that are locked in, and just specifically talk about the trip and that kind of thing. But just wanted to address that off the top because I've had a lot of people asking me when am I going to be there. That should be all locked in the coming few days or weeks. But I will be in Detroit within definitely the next couple of months, I feel like. So probably sooner. So it's just a matter of getting that sorted out. But yeah, can't say enough thanks to the Pistons and those specific teams, as well as all of you guys who've supported me, because I don't get these opportunities without the connections I've formed with all Pistons fans around the world, people who come into the live streams on Twitter, Instagram, wherever I've interacted with you. I appreciate all of you because I don't get this opportunity without you. So I love making the content, but the content only goes as far as you guys take it. So thank you so much. So moving on now to what's been going on in the world of Pistons hoops. In the past week, it's been a very roller coaster week, but the Pistons come out with a 2-1 record. They had a what do you want to call a heart-stopping kind of win over Miami, which I kind of recapped on last week's show, but that was a crazy game that went to overtime and took a Tim Hardaway Jr. 9-0 run for them to win after the Pistons were up by like 20 in overtime, in the fourth quarter, sorry. So huge to get that win over the Heat, because at that stage, Miami were playing really well. They came in on a 4-game winning streak. Huge win there. Then they come back a couple of days later and get absolutely blown out in the first quarter by one of the worst teams in the NBA, in the Utah Jazz. And I think the Jazz put up 48 points in the first quarter. Definitely the most points the Pistons have given up in a first quarter in a long time in this season. And whilst the Pistons pretty much had momentum for the second and fourth quarter and much of the third, they just kind of, the mountain was too far to climb, and Uh, if the Pistons only gave up 38 instead of 48, they probably come back and win this game. But, you know, that's kind of what the Pistons are right now. They're inconsistent. They'll beat teams who on paper or in theory they shouldn't. And then they lose to teams that they should beat, and we all think they'll beat. And that couldn't be any more true with their most recent win over the Suns a couple of days ago in Phoenix. Um, Devin Booker was out, but I'm not taking anything away from the Pistons in this game. Cade Cunningham proved he's an all-star. I'm going to talk about his performance later and his kind of season in general. But he iced the game. He was clutch. He finished with 28 points, 13 assists. Jaden Ivey returned and had an excellent game. Just really, really one of the more funner games this season. And, the Pistons are really putting together now. As I mentioned, that overall they're 12 and 17, but I feel like six of those wins are like some of my favorite wins in the past few seasons. Definitely in the Cade Cunningham era. Like, I'm just thinking back to the Pacers win on the road. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Winning Phoenix, Arizona the other night. Awesome game. Really loved that one. They had that huge win in New York at Madison Square Garden where Cade went off again. So just got some really nice wins that have particularly come on the road this season, which is a sign of growth to me. Even if they're going to have these inconsistent losses against teams like the Jazz, teams like Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago when they were really struggling. It's nice that they are kind of stealing these games, which in past seasons we just expect them to get blown out in. So, in terms of the standings, they're pretty much where they've been the past couple of weeks, with 10th in the East, pretty much where they've kind of been for pretty much the last month and a half, I would say. It feels like some people might say they deserve another couple of wins. I might have said that couple of weeks ago, but I truly think they are where they're meant to be. The Eastern Conference is still pretty like all over the place, so they could get up to like eighth or seventh if they really start, um, you know, tightening things up and not dropping games to the Jazz and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, like they've beaten some good teams, and I think those poor losses and great wins kind of balance themselves out, and I think they're right where they're meant to be, and we should all be happy with them being 10th, because you know a win or two and they could be right up at seventh or eighth. So vibe check, like I'm still super happy with the way this season's trending. Uh, I think there's so much to like with these young guys and the fact that they're leading the way in most of these wins. Obviously, particularly Cade, but um, yeah, vibes are good. Vibes are really good. I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find an overly negative Pistons fan right now. Um, one that actually has a decent argument. A lot of trade talk, which I'll get into in a minute, but really happy with just how this team's going right now, considering the health they've had. And, they did have a tough schedule there in terms of a heap of travel and back to backs before the past week and a half. So I think they're trending in a nice direction. But moving on to the next kind of topic, which is news and the rumor mill. So, in terms of injuries, last week we had Tobias Harris, Jaden Ivey, and Isaiah Stewart all out. But we had Tobias Harris return against the Jazz a couple of games ago. He still looked a bit rusty. Um, I thought he was finding some decent form after a slowish start, but yeah, he's come back from that wrist injury and has looked a bit off by that. I don't think he's hit a three. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he did against the Suns. He might have against the Jazz, but he's been a bit rusty in those two games. So hopefully he can get it going soon. Jaden Ivey returned against the Suns and was fantastic. Almost had a triple double. His first quarter was one of the best quarters I've ever seen him play. He had like 10 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, like 3 offensive rebounds. That's something. He had 4 for the game and finished with 28 and 8. I want to see him crash the offensive glass the way he did against the Suns, particularly when the other team has a center like Nurkic, or I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful here because he's the best player in the league, but Nikola Jokic, great rebounder. Don't get me wrong, but not the most vertical athlete. So the Pistons have Denver later this week. That's a game where I want to see JI try and get in there and, create some second chance points with his offensive rebounding by like jumping over the top of Jokic potentially. Um, and just trying to get those rebounds, especially when the other team doesn't have a really athletic center that's going to haul in every board. So love that element of his game. Hit 2 huge threes in the third quarter. Um, really balanced game from him, played in control, and played confidently. So he looks like potentially the 8 games prior to going out, maybe that knee soreness as well as a reported toe issue were really bothering him. And he looked really healthy and confident and was moving really well. So great sign to see him back to the Jaden Ivey we saw in the first part of this season so far. Isaiah Stewart still out, I believe. I don't think he'll be back against the Lakers, but we shall see today if he's back following I think it was a knee. Why have I forgotten this? It was a knee bruise or knee. He jarred his knee. That's what we call it here in Australia. I'm sorry. Hyperextension. There we go. So hopefully he's back soon. But Paul Reed's been good while he's been out. In terms of trade rumors, not a lot this week. But the Zach LaVine to the Denver Nuggets kind of rumors have been heating up a little bit in the past week or so. And where the Pistons come into this is kind of that third team. And I had my man Kyle Metz on last week going through some potential trades. The Pistons could be a third team in, or it could be just trading with other teams. So go check that out. That was posted a couple of days ago on the channel. But in this so in this scenario, if Zach LaVine goes to the Nuggets and the Bulls need a third team, or the Nuggets need a third team to come in to help facilitate salary, there's kind of 2 players here I have my eyes on that the Pistons could swoop in and potentially get in a 3-team trade with the Bulls and Nuggets. And the first one, and this is more of a pipe dream, but that would be Michael Porter Jr. Because the Nuggets, I believe they have to give up, no matter what, Michael Porter Jr. and his salary to make a deal happen because of the second apron thing. So if for some reason the Bulls didn't want Michael Porter Jr., maybe they don't want his 3 years, $110 million deal. Maybe, they're incentivized. They have a top 10 protected pick going to the Spurs. So maybe they don't want to bring MPJ in because they're worried about giving up that pick. So here come the Pistons. They take the salary and help facilitate a deal. I still think that's hard to see because I just feel like the Bulls still want the asset in Porter Jr. and the way their front office has worked in the past. They're not really ones to tank. But just say there was a scenario where the Bulls don't want MPJ, then, I could see the Pistons swooping in and potentially getting him. And I think he would fit really well. Yes, he has injury concerns, but he's kind of the supercharged version of Tobias Harris. And kind of, I think he's a better like pull-up shooter than Tobias, especially from 3, even Tobias in his prime. But in terms of a scoring 4-man that is an okay athlete and can give you 18 to 22, MPJ fits that bill. And he's having a career best year, career highs across the board for him. The other player who I think the Pistons might be able to get in a 3-team deal, or maybe it's just a trade with the Bulls, but for the sake of this segment, is Lonzo Ball. Maybe the Pistons are able to take on Lonzo's salary. You kind of get that damaged asset. And yes, I know people say, oh, he's injured, but it's kind of like that's the kind of the risk you take. You could get Lonzo, and I don't even think probably people might say he's a reclamation project, but you could get him and maybe he's your backup point guard, like for the next 2 or 3 seasons. I think at this stage of his career, I'd be shocked if Lonzo's banging the door down to be a starter. I think he just wants to get back to playing basketball consistently. And I think the Pistons could provide a decent role for him, definitely this season. And I think he's an expiring, so, maybe, or maybe he has a year left. So, maybe they can recoup his value. And then all of a sudden, you've got your third guard behind Ivy and Cade who can defend, shoot threes, great connect on offense. So another player to keep an eye on there. But this is all kind of hypothetical, but it's kind of just some of the stuff I've seen discussed, and those two players there, if the Pistons could get one of them, I think it makes a lot of sense. So let me know your thoughts on that. Final player or topic I want to touch on is just Cade Cunningham. Like, this man's an all-star. There's no question about it. In the month of December, in 7 games played, decent sample size, he's averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists, 50% field goal, 40% from 3. He just beat Kevin Durant, hit the game-sealing 3 in KD's face in Phoenix to close out that game 2 nights ago. He then had, I think he had 20 points, 18 assists, 11 boards against Miami a couple of games before that. Like, this man is playing ridiculous basketball right now. Like, and if you haven't already, go vote for Cade. I'm going to put a link in the description here to take you straight to the page to vote for him, to get him in as an all-star. I actually did a video with the Pistons on their Instagram channel and their TikTok and that kind of thing, briefly breaking down his game. Go check that out, because we are pushing the Cade Cunningham all-star agenda. With that, playoffs, play in, that would be super fun. But I think a goal for all us fans to get behind this season is making sure he's an all-star. So go and vote for him, because the way he's playing right now it's exceeding what I thought we would see this season from him individually. Like, I thought this would be maybe year 6 Cade Cunningham, but we're getting it in year 3, really. So he's been exceptional. So please go vote for him. I've been doing my votes, and let's all do our bit. Closing out the show, guys, upcoming schedule. So the Pistons will play the Lakers today by the time you're watching this. I believe Anthony Davis and LeBron James are out. So, Pistons haven't beaten the Lakers in 7 years in LA. I would love for that streak to be gone. The Pistons this season have been eliminating these streaks. So, I think January 2017 was the last time they won in LA. Let's get rid of that. Time to get that win. Let's beat Austin Reeves. I know Pistons fans don't like Austin Reeves. He annoys me a little bit, even though I think he's a good player. If it's an Austin Reeves-led Lakers team, the Pistons should win. If AD and LeBron are out, Pistons should win, no question. Now, going back to what we said before about this team, if those two players are out, the Lakers, 2 superstars, this is no guarantee. We saw what happened with the Jazz at home the other day. So, but I think if those two are out, Pistons should win. How confident am I in that? Not that confident, just because of the inconsistencies this season, but I think we should all be very excited to watch this game, and definitely not be expecting a blowout or anything. And there's a real chance they can win. They then go to Sacramento a couple of days later, after Christmas, and the Kings have lost 4 in a row. Kings are in a bit of a free fall. Things aren't looking good in Sacramento. So I think that's a real winnable game. So even if they lose to LA, they can beat the Kings. I think they should beat the Kings. So they've got 2 very winnable games in the next 4 or 5 days here. Then the tough one is the Nuggets. This is just before New Year's, I believe Sunday. But, the Nuggets as well, struggling. I can't remember the last time the Pistons won in Denver. Maybe it's time to break a streak. So I think there's a real chance we're back here on Pistons Jack Weekly next week, and the Pistons go 2-1 and win 2 of these games. I could also see them only winning 1. I could see them winning all 3. I'm gonna predict they win 2. I'm gonna say they win 2. Yeah, and that means they go 3-1 on this West Coast trip, and that's seriously impressive. So, let me know your predictions. Love to see them in the comments. But that's going to do it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for just all the comments and that, DMs and everything I've received in the past few days in particular. It honestly means so much to me, and that's why I do this. I love the team. I love making content, but love connecting with all of you guys. So thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it so much. So until next time, as always, go Pistons. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below.